welcome to my YouTube channel. We're in the Herd is Tiffany. I am super excited about today's topic. We are talking with Roxana, who is living in Mexico with her daughter. And so I know many of us, may want to move abroad and it may be kind of scary or, you may be nervous about it. And so I wanted somebody with firsthand experience to talk about how this all works. So I've talked enough. Let's get straight into it. Roxana, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, thank you very much, Tiffany. I appreciate you. I appreciate your coloring book on Africa. That's very important. I wish I had something like that growing up. I want to first say that I'm humble in that I'm not special. I'm not the first. Many black women, black people, are immigrants, migrants. We move, all over the world. So there's nothing special about what I've done. Um, Living in Mexico, we've been here about almost 5 years.
Okay.
I moved here when my daughter was 8. Okay, she turned 9 that summer. We moved here June of 2017. And why did we move to Mexico? Well, it's the short version is that I wanted my daughter to be a polyglot. It was very important for her to learn how to speak Spanish, write Spanish, read Spanish at a professional level. I feel that it's important to have different languages underneath your belt. I think it would be a very good thing for her future, professionally as well as personally. And Spanish is a very important language in the Americas. It's a very important language in the United States, this part of the world. So that was one of my primary objectives. And
I absolutely agree that Spanish is definitely a great language besides English to have under your belt. So that is super exciting that you guys have been there for 5 years. So how fluent is your daughter's Spanish and how fluent is your Spanish?
I'm intermediate. I can move about and carry on conversations. I can do business at a bank. I can, I've worked with non-English speakers, so I can hold my own. I think the longest conversation I had consecutively or consistently was 3 hours in pure Spanish. And, I have long conversations with people who do not speak English. I have relationships with people who do not speak English. With my daughter, she's fluent. She would be considered fluent. Obviously, I want to get her. There are levels according to the Center for the Framework on European Languages, and they measure language. And right now, my daughter is like a B2. There's A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, and then C2. So, Black women, we always aim for the top. So I want my daughter to be a C2. And I can say within my family, coming from the Bronx, growing up in the Bronx, we had neighbors who were right next to us and they were Puerto Rican. And when we moved out of that home, my cousin moved in with his wife and his children. His first baby was babysat by this Puerto Rican family. And that started her love for Spanish. So that cousin is now a diplomat with the U.S. State Department stationed in Spain. She's a diplomat, and it started with our neighbors. Literally in the Bronx, they didn't speak to her in English; they only spoke Spanish, and that's what started it. And I emulate my cousin. That's my big cousin. He's the first grandchild, and his daughter has a successful career. And I said, you know what? That coupled with growing up in New York, Spanish was like a third language for me because my family speaks other languages, being West African. So, multiple languages was always a high cultural value in my family and my culture. So I just couldn't have a daughter and only speak like English and our West African language, like where they do that at.
Right.
So it was important for her to be a multilingual.
That's interesting that you say that because I'm from California, and so we have a lot of Hispanic, Latinos, Mexicans, however people want to classify. And so I almost feel like that is almost a second language to us as well. I am nowhere near you and your daughter. But I actually have family members that are Hispanic, and so I can understand, but I can't really talk. Okay, so I can say "Hola, como está," and I can say tiny little words when I'm in Mexico, but I cannot do a full blown out conversation. But if you were to talk to me for 10, 15 minutes, I would be able to catch in on what you're saying just by some of the words that I know. So it's funny how where you live at can also determine some of the language that you may speak up, that you may pick
Mm-hmm.
up on, or continue to speak. So that is so exciting
Mm-hmm.
for your cousin. Congratulations on her. And hopefully we'll see
Mm-hmm.
your daughter in such a position like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And now Spain Spanish is different from Mexico Spanish. So it's very interesting when you are learning different languages and you can have one language, but it's still different ways to say it. That's just like you have American English and British English. So it's just a little bit different, even though there are some basic words that are kind of the same. So that's super exciting that you chose that because of that. Now, side note, you kind of mentioned your family's from West Africa. So what language do you speak there and what part of West Africa?
Well, so here's where it gets complicated.
Okay.
My mother is a descendant of freemen, okay, and we believe that these freemen were maybe in England or in Nova Scotia, Canada, and
Okay.
they're called the Creole people.
Okay.
So who knows how we got there, from wherever we were plucked from and mixed together. So my mother is a descendant of the freemen free people, and those people are related to the Gullah Geechee people of the Carolinas.
Okay.
So and of course all black people, but just to give you a time and space. So we were literally put on a boat. We believe maybe from Canada, more than likely, could be from London. Put on a boat and literally sent back to Sierra Leone, Freetown, and the town, the capital of Sierra Leone is Freetown. So that is my mother's side. So my mother is a black person of either maybe Canadian or British mix, but African generations back. That's my mother's side, and maybe my grandmother removed 3 or 4 times was put on that boat. So that's my mother, and then my father is an indigenous African, and so my mother's people speak a Patois, a Creole. So it's a mixture. It's English based, but you'll hear French. You'll hear many different languages from the Tree. You'll hear Mandinga. You'll hear Wolof. So it's a mixture. It's a Patois, my mother's language, which I speak, my daughter speaks. And then my father's people, he's an indigenous African. His ethnic groups are Susu and Timini. And so his family is from Guinea, Conakry, and Sierra Leone and the Gambia. So that's why I just say I'm West African, you know.
Okay, so that is funny, Roxanne. I did not know all this background about you, but I just got excited again because my aunt did our ancestry DNA several years ago. I haven't done it directly, but since this is my aunt, we are from Sierra Leone and Guinea-Bissau. So we may be family somewhere down
What's
the
up,
line.
cuz?
So
What's
we
up, cuz?
connected somewhere around there. Like
That's so cool. That's
so when you
so
said that, I was like,
cool.
oh God, that's exciting. Give me a phrase in Patois. How would you say hello? How are you doing?
Okay. Ow the body.
Al body. I'm missing some.
Ow, ow the body.
Gi body.
D body.
D
Ow the
body.
body.
Al di body.
Uh-huh.
Okay, good.
Or you could say ow you they do. Ow you they do.
Al you they
Ow.
do.
Yes, ow you they
Okay.
do.
Al you they do.
Ow you they do.
Okay.
Howdy body. Howdy they do.
Oh,
You
and that
well, you
almost
fine. Howdy do. Howdy body. Howdy body.
okay, and that almost sounds like how do you do, kind of a little
It
bit in
is.
English.
It's corrupted English, yeah.
Okay. So that's super cool. Okay, and then you also mentioned Sierra Leone. So how would you say that in that language?
That's the patois of
That's
Sierra
the
Leone.
that's the patois. That's the patois. And the
hmm
Guinea
Now
Bissau
that's
is
not the indigenous language, Sierra Leone, different ethnic groups, but
different
this is the language that the free, we were plopped down. Our mother's people were plopped down there, and in order to, navigate things, we came from the West, and then we're mixed in with indigenous Africans. So you pick up languages from them, and then you have the English base, and
okay.
you have this patois.
And then okay, and that goes for the, and then also I know that your daughter is half Ghanaian.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. She
And
sure
they
is.
speak Tree over
Her
there.
father's Ashanti Akan, yes.
Yes.
And she's very proud of it. She don't even acknowledge her mama. It's all about her daddy people, her daddy side. Pluck my nerve, pluck my nerve.
So she has to rep West Africa as well. So I mean, y'all must have flags. Y'all must have different flags from everywhere. You know how to be like, rep
Yeah.
your flag.
She's
Y'all got
so
different
Ghanaian. It's ridiculous. She's so
flags.
Ghanaian. And Maryland, where she was born, Maryland, she's
Oh,
so
she's running.
PG County and Ghanaian, yeah. Nothing about
Okay.
New York, where I'm
So
from.
I'm very familiar with PG County, Maryland. I went to Howard, woo woo, and then of course, I've
Oh, hey,
been
that's
to.
where she wants to go.
Oh, so we
Yeah.
definitely have to
My
talk.
niece
We got
went
to talk
there. My
then.
niece went to Howard. Yeah.
Okay, and then I also, been to Ghana so many times. So me and your daughter has to connect one of these days.
Yes, yes.
So that's super, super excited. Okay, y'all, we went off on a tangent. That was a fun tangent. So we're going back to Mexico. So let us know, what do you do in Mexico? A lot of people say, well, I want to move abroad, but I don't know, like, where would I work or anything like that. So tell us where you work and, like, any advice for the people in your particular field.
Okay, well, what I did, it's a long story. The short of it is that one of the jobs that you can get, although it's not lucrative, well, it depends on your credentials, your experience, and where you land. But a job that's relatively easy to get when you move abroad is to teach English. Okay, so that's what I did, and that was how I was able to get my legal residency here. I worked as a business English teacher for a community college here, and they sponsored me. So that's what gave me and my daughter residency. So we're legal residents of Mexico.
Okay.
And that's one way that you can come here and secure a position and get sponsorship.
Which
Obviously,
is, wait, Roxana, which is very interesting because a lot of people talk about high school or elementary English, but you actually went to the community college. So is there a
mhm.
difference, or is it more difficult to get a position at the community college abroad in Mexico?
Well, I've worked. It all depends on your credentials and how you're connected. What I will say and what I found is that I believe that you have what I've experienced. I'm in a small town. I'm in a Pueblo Mágico, magic town, and it's called a magic town because it's touristical. It's touristical, if that's a word. It's beautiful. It's picturesque, but it's a smaller town. It's a city. It's a city, but it's a town. It's a town. And I believe that it's advantageous to be in a place where there are not many Americans for many reasons, but one of them is which employment. You are coveted because not too many people are native English speakers. That's something that's coveted. Our accent is coveted. Just being by from the United States, that's a status symbol to certain people here, and that's something that's coveted, and that's something that you can use to your advantage. You may not get it may not be as easy in a larger city, although you can get a job in a Mexico City and make good money for Mexico. In many instances, you're not going to get paid what you do in the States unless you're able to work remotely or transfer a job over, or you're able to secure a big time, like an international school, an international baccalaureate school, a British based school, something like that, where the pay is comparable to the United States or Europe. But if not, you can work in a local school, a private local school. The pay will not be great in many instances, but it's one vehicle that you can utilize to get sponsorship if you're unable to meet the financial requirements of immigration here in Mexico.
Oh, okay. And then when you talk about you won't be making as much, but the cost of living is much cheaper in Mexico, right? So can
Yes,
you talk a
ma'am.
bit about the cost of living? Like, how much would it cost to secure an apartment if you were moving with your child or children? Or like the cost of food and all that type of stuff, to where people can be like, oh, okay, I need to have this amount per month to actually live in a town in Mexico.
So there's so many variables, just like United States,
Right.
Chicago's different from New York, different from Louisiana, different from Washington State. And then you have your sub towns. If you're living in an area where there are a lot of people from the United States or Canada, you're going to pay top dollar. There's, quote unquote gentrification, where locals are being priced out because people come with dollars. And right now the exchange rate has been holding steady between 18 to 20 pesos to $1 American. So your money is 18 to 19 to 20, 20 times more valuable than, a peso, what have you. So obviously you can afford to live in a place, you can afford more because you have access to a stronger currency. Um, and it also depends on how do you want to live. If you want to live in an area that's very Americanized, where you have a lot of big box stores, you're going to pay more in rent. You're going to pay more for goods and services. Or you can live in an area that's a medium-sized city, or you can live in a small town. So it all depends on how you want to live. It's me and my daughter. I'm a frugal person. That's one of the reasons why we live here. I need to think about my retirement. I need to think about her education and my future. So I don't want to live like an American life in Mexico, because then why did I move here? I could have stayed in the States to pay bills out of my nose and work 3 jobs and all of that.
Right.
So our cost of living is very low. I'm very minimalist now. I wasn't a person that I used to be a big consumer of clothing and eating out all the time. And we still do these things from time to time, but not as much as I did in the States. I don't purchase things as much as I did in the States. I don't want to have a lot of things. I much rather have experiences with my daughter than to be a consumer, to consume things. So for me, bottom line, me and my daughter live well for maybe a little over $1,000 a month.
Okay. And that would include food, housing, if anything comes up or anything like that, right?
Yes, that includes rent, that includes her tuition, that's food, that's internet, that's the light bill, that's transportation, that's entertainment, that's like medical, that's everything.
Right, and which is wonderful because I live in California, which is one of the most expensive states to live in. And that doesn't even cover rent, the amount that you're spending for everything that's going on.
That's
So
against my religion, girl. That hurts my
right,
spirit.
that hurt my spirit too. I've been thinking, I'm
I
like,
can't do it.
every time
I've
I
done it.
pay,
I can't do it. California, it's and the whole country is so expensive.
right,
Obviously there are pockets of places that are cheaper. Like I have a girlfriend in Louisiana. She lives in the middle of nowhere, and like her mortgage is like $400. But I don't want to live in the middle of nowhere. I need access to things, so you have to pay.
so every time I pay my rent, I'm like, I should really move to Mexico. Like I had a lot of friends that have moved down there. I've been down there and I love it. And so it always crosses my mind when I pay all this money for rent, which I
Mm.
know that I can, get much cheaper somewhere else. My question was, do you get paid in pesos or do they pay you in the US dollars?
My job that I have now pays me in dollars, but when I was working strictly for the university, well, both. I get paid in both because university pays me in pesos, and then my other income pays me in dollars.
Okay, and so what do you have your own business besides your regular job? Are you doing other businesses as
Yes, my hustles, my side hustles are I have the Bangura Institute where I support English language teachers who are native Spanish speakers. So we do coaching, or I do coaching on courses, pronunciation, written English, for them to become subject matter experts. And then the goal is to have debates with other educators who are other ESL, English as second language educators, for them to have debates to get more exposure for themselves, more connections for their English language career, teaching career, and then to bridge them with their counterparts in the States. So that's what I do. That's the Bangura Institute. So it's raising the profile of linguistic education, and particularly for marginalized communities. I wanted to provide the same opportunities that I provided for my daughter for kids, for students in the United States. Hey, you want to learn? Hey, there's an opportunity for you to learn this language with a native Spanish speaker. And because a lot of times I know when I was in school, teachers who taught English a lot of times weren't well qualified. They weren't well qualified in the language. Excuse me, teachers who taught Spanish weren't well qualified in the language, and it wasn't an immersive experience. And I think a lot of times many of us could have had a better grasp of Spanish if we had better Spanish language teachers. So that's something that I'm trying to address with the Bangura Institute. So that's my educational portion. And then I have the Bangura Chronicles, where I share our experiences here on YouTube, this platform, as well as Facebook and Patreon. And then In addition to that, there's a portion of it where I do relocation consulting. So people reach out to me asking about
Do
my
that.
life, and that's where I provide them information on my life here, my daughter's life, as well as the educational portion.
Okay, I love it. Snap, snap fingers. I love
Hey,
everything that you're doing out there. And I also feel like when you move abroad, it actually opens you up to things that you probably wouldn't do here in the States, like the consultations, like the different language things. Like, I think that's super cool. What you're doing actually reminds me of I went to Spain to do a study, I mean, to teach English, quote unquote teach English, because it wasn't really teaching English. It was kind of similar to what you're doing. We were there only for a week, but we literally were with Spanish speakers who are in different roles in their jobs. And so they know how to speak English, but they want to get better. So we would do all types of activities with them, like doing phone calls, doing group work, doing different types of activities. And that kind of sounds similar to what you're doing in the aspects of them getting better with their language or their English. So I love the fact that you have come into your own in your entrepreneurship as well as doing something else. So
thank
I
you.
absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely love that. Okay, so when it comes to moving abroad with your child, like, was it difficult? Was it easy? Like, what advice would you give to people? Because I know a lot of people are like, dang, well, if it's just me, that may be easier, but I have to bring kids. How does that work? Because your daughter had to be in what you said 8 years old. So how did that work with like childcare or like just even her moving from one country to the next? Like how did she feel in all of this in the move?
Okay, I want to do a shameless plug because you mentioned something. The opportunities that I have now have expanded me. Expansion is one of my buzzwords. And if you would have told me 5 years ago that I would have been in two, possibly three books, what are you talking about? So I've been in two books here, and that's sheer by the sheer providence of me living abroad and having this experience and having a platform where I share my experience. Other people felt connected with me, and I've been in two books. So that, like you said, that wouldn't have presented itself if I was still in the States. In terms of my
Congratulations.
daughter, yeah, and I put the link in the private chat so you could share
Okay,
it.
yeah, we're gonna make sure we put all of your information so people can contact you
Okay,
for any of your services that you're
okay.
on.
Thank you. With my daughter, we moved here in June of 2017. She was 8. She turned 9 that August. Now, we came in, and I'm an extreme person. I'm either all in or all out. So I hyper focus. I become very like focused on a goal. So my goal was that my daughter was going to learn Spanish through an immersive method. So we enrolled her in a public school here that there was an English class, but not really. It was all day Spanish. Everybody spoke Spanish. No one spoke English. So that was hardcore. So like I threw her into the deep end of the pool, and she started school that August. By that December, she said, "Mommy, I'm beginning to understand. I can kind of have a little more in-depth conversations." And
Okay.
that was because she was exposed to the language every day, 5 days a week for 4.5 hours, because public schools in this area are from 8 until 12:30.
Oh,
So what I didn't realize though, and you learn so many things. I came to Mexico with an understanding of, these are Latino people. I grew up with Latino people. These are brown people. These are people of color. I can identify with them. They can identify with me. What I didn't realize was that in her school in particular, there were individuals whose parents, family members, may have gotten deported back to the United States from Mexico. And
wow.
as a result of that, there was some resentment because we're from the United States, and we're able to just basically, come in and out of Mexico. That's changing a bit now, but at the time, especially, we had free, you get your visa while you're on the plane. While Mexicans going to the States, they have to go through a visa process. Like many people, you have to go to the embassy, you have to go to a place that processes visas. There are fees, and there's a lot involved to prove that you're financially solvent. People from the United States, we don't have to do that. We buy our ticket as we're on the plane. We're filling out our visa.
Right.
So there's
I
that
always
resentment,
say
which
that.
I didn't have that awareness of.
Right. I always say that that little blue passport gives us so much privilege that we don't even understand.
We don't even understand, and it's unfortunate. So there was some bullying because of the differences. There was bullying because of the differences. Blackface is done here in schools. They paint blackface. My daughter had a play. They were opening up a new library in the school, and there was a play to to welcome the library and reading and everything. So I was standing up in the front of the school, and we were looking at all the kids dressed up in their play attire, in their characters, and I see two kids with like black shoe polish on their face. So believe me, I don't know what I'm looking at. I'm like, well, why are they doing? Because it's just not it. The lights were on in my head, but nobody was home because, of course, I'm not expecting. I'm staring like, what is going on? Why do they have black stuff on their face? It's blackface, and that's a thing that's practiced here. So that was very shocking. That was very shocking. And
And
you
so,
you see
and
that.
for Roxana, for the blackface, explain to us what that is for people that don't know what the reference is.
Oh, so blackface is from maybe the turn of the last century, the 20th century vaudeville, where white actors would paint their skin black to imitate black people, and they would make fun of our features, minstrel shows and caricatures. I mean, it's deep. I mean, deeply rooted racism that's still practiced here. Supposedly is to represent characters that are black. Like, well, we don't have black characters. I said there's no need to paint your face black, but that's something that we were confronted with here.
Oh wow.
And you see imagery where there is I mean, this is a whole thing. The town that we live in, there was a famous composer from this town, and his nickname is Cree Cree. His real name is like Francisco Golibar, but his nickname is Cree Cree. And I'm going to kind of equate him to their Disney, Mr. Walt Disney, in that he's wrote a lot of children's songs and created a lot of characters that are sung and played all throughout America in schools. So children grow up with these characters and with these songs, and up until today. So one of the characters that he has is called Negrita Sandia. Now, Negrito Sandia, Negrito is black boy, and the word Sandia is watermelon. So this is the name of this character. And this individual is chocolate with very big red pink lips. And this statue is all around our town here. So these are the images that people grew up with till this day that has perpetuated these songs, just slap a black person and making fun of black features. And these things are very much alive and well in this part of the world. So, and it really, yeah, I'm going off on a tangent, but being here and being confronted with it, it started to kind of make me understand why there was a lot of divisions between blacks and Latinos in the United States because of this racist imagery. And we understand, and the racial stereotypes that are being perpetuated up until this day. So that kind of said, okay, well, this anti-blackness is really global. It really made me, wake up to that and realize that living here, seeing this imagery that is in commercials, mejora la raza.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because it just kind of shows that moving abroad is not all peaches and cream, right? There
No,
may
not
be
at all.
things that you are faced with as well. I think a lot of people, when we talk about living abroad, it seems like everybody's happy, it's good, life is this and life is that, but it's good to also recognize that there are life that's going to happen abroad, or where you're at. And so these are things that you may or may not come across, but these are just some things that may occur. Are there any other things that people should look out for when they're moving abroad, or like any other advice specifically that you wish that you knew before you moved abroad, or is it something that you've learned along the way that could help somebody else out?
Well, I things that I knew. I mean, there's so many things. I think that for me as a black woman, I've had to confront a lot of stereotypes that I've heard in the States. People are very curious about black people's genitals, genital size, sexual prowess. That's a thing that I knew about in the States. Well, that's very much a reality here. Stereotypes about black women being strong and courageous. That's a stereotype here. So these things that you hear about in the atmosphere, and that still transfers. It's not a uniquely American thing. There is still these perceptions about black people here, black women here, that we're great in bed, and all of these things I've had to confront living here, dating local men, dating local Mexican men.
So we
So
didn't. That's funny that you mentioned that. We didn't talk about that. I'm gonna let you finish up your list though, and then we may switch over to that dating side because I'm pretty sure people are interested to know. Because if you're moving somewhere, you want to know, like, is it dateable? Like, am I just going there to work and raise my children, or can I find love, quote unquote?
oh, you can absolutely find love. I mean, uh, on the flip side of that, being here, I think so many things are going through my head. I think with Black women, okay, I think with Black women, when other men who are not Black are interested in us, we think he's fetishizing us, which does happen. That's a reality. He's othering me. All of that is real. But then at the same time, you're beautiful, you're intelligent, you are worthy, and he sees someone that's worthy of being with you. So I think that trope that we have, well, oh, he's not Black, he must think I'm wild, he has this preconceived notion about me because I'm Black, and it's not always the case. So I think that's something that I had to confront here, and I had to confront my worthiness, being able to date outside of my race. And it's not necessarily because I'm Black, he wants to have this Black experience. He finds me attractive because I'm attractive. You know what I mean? Or it's okay for him to find my color and my hair and my features attractive without him othering me. And I think that's a problem that a lot of sisters have. Like, we should be comfortable in receiving these compliments and being put on a pedestal like this without having this baggage. And that's something that sometimes has to be unpacked in place of country. Sometimes it's a hard thing to unpack in the States because we're not put on this pedestal. And when I'm saying Black woman, I'm going to talk about me as a dark-skinned Black woman, as a dark-skinned Black woman of size. So these are the things that I had to confront and unpack here, because men, I mean, of course, I'm different. They don't see too many Black women. But for the most part, men here will find you attractive in all your hues, from light to middle to dark. Black Mexican men find Black women attractive. Like, they'll tell you you're beautiful. I like you. I like your color. I mean, that's one of the first things they'll say is, I love your skin. I love your hair. I love your skin. I
Which
love your hair.
which is, I'm gonna go back to the statement you said earlier about it plays in context of where you're at. So being in context of America, sometimes we are definitely not put on a pedestal. So me going to Ghana for the first time for 6 weeks, I was like, oh my God, I'm living in the wrong place. When you hear that you're beautiful, when you don't hear that as much, being a Black woman or a plus size woman, and then you go to Ghana and, like you said, you're on this pedestal. You're like, whoa, how should I receive this? How should I accept this? So that's a good point that you made there. So when it comes to dating, are you like on dating apps, or is it just kind of a natural connection? Or like, how have you found like most guys? Or is it typical dating? Are you guys going out to restaurants, or are you having both sides of the coin where you have those men who know, I just want to sleep with you, or are you having, no, they're really dining and whining, or whatever the case is, being from a different culture?
Let me first say, now, also being put on a pedestal, you also have to recognize that, like you said, that blue passport. So you have to have discernment when you're dating abroad, because people want to get at you because of that blue passport, whether they want access to get to the States, or for you, it elevates their social status, or it elevates their social economic status. So you always have to have discernment about you when you're dating someone from another country who may not be in the same socioeconomic status as you. And I'm not saying that you necessarily are well to do. That's not necessarily the case. But you might come across people that are in a lower socioeconomic status, and being with you can help elevate them. Okay, that happens. And at the same time, me being in this socioeconomic status, being with someone who's Mexican at a higher socioeconomic status can elevate me. So it works both ways. Now, in terms of dating, men are men, men are men. There's
Right.
men and I've used dating apps and I've met people on the street. Mostly I'm a dating app person because I feel it's an easier way to date, because I'm in a small town. I'm one of the few Black women here that are single in this really small town. I mean, I literally, I might be, maybe the sister moved here not too long ago, but before then, as far as I know, I'm like the only single Black woman. No, there's like two of us, like the only single Black woman in the town. So as a result of that, and me teaching, I have to be very mind my p's and q's. I'm in a small town. Small towns are known for gossips, so
Right.
I can't be in somebody's club, somebody's bar, even though. And plus, I'm a mom, so I'm very conservative with how I move myself. I have a teenage daughter, so it's more discretionary for me to connect with men on the internet and see where we can go from there. And then we go on normal dates. There's no question of who pays. No, we don't do that. With I've been asked out, the man pays. There is none of this, this great debates that we have in these groups online. He asked
Right.
me out, who pays? There's none of that back and forth thing. Men are very gallant or gallant, chivalrous. Uh, they understand I want a woman, I pay. I pay to take her out because I'm paying for her time to grace me with her presence. So and I will say that in my experiences here, um, there's no shortage of dating. I have much better luck dating here, and people assume I'm Cuban. No one thinks I'm from the States. People, because in their experience here, Black people are Cuban. So a lot of people are like, where are you from? No one will say, oh, you're from the States. No, I have to say, and sometimes I don't think they believe me until they hear me speak. So just off of my picture, the way they're like, oh, where are you from? You're Cuban? What country are you from? So I say that to say they see a woman that they find attractive based simply on my picture. And my dating is I have much more to choose from than in the States. Men here find me more attractive than on dating apps in the States.
Right. Which is very interesting. And I say, hey, go where you're loved or whatever the case. I know that's not the reason you moved there, but if that's an added bonus in the process, hey, why not? So I really love the fact that the dating pool is very open out there and appreciative of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
In color, you as a woman, just in general, like you said, everything, the whole, your mind, your brain, the whole package, which I really, really love. So I am absolutely enjoying this conversation.
Same here, me too.
So, because people's attention span is short, we're gonna wrap it up. But
Okay.
give us some final words about, again, somebody who wants to move abroad with a child, or maybe is looking to, the dating aspect or the living aspect. So, what would be like your top two ultimate things that you would want somebody to know? And of course, if you guys want more information, we'll tell you how to reach her. But just give us a couple little things for somebody that's looking to move abroad.
Well, my favorite quote that really crystallizes and summarizes everything with this whole life I've created is, what you want is on the other side of your fear.
Mm.
So, am I scared? Yeah. I'm not gonna say I'm scared every day, but I'm scared. But I'm a praying person. I'm a spiritual person. I got my ancestors and my angels on my side. So I could be fearful, but I have faith. My faith is bigger than my fear. So that's number one. If you believe that you could do it, you could do it. Is it going to be easy? For me, it wasn't. I took my 401k and I moved out here. So what I say to say, if you want to do it, you'll do it. I'm not special. My mother did it. My grandmother did it. Many Black women are living their best lives in Mexico. We out here heavy, and we out here so heavy. When I was at BWI flying back last time we went to the States, the sister at the counter she was like, a lot of us is going down to Mexico. I was like, yes, sis, Mexico is live. So I say that to say there's big Black communities here where you'll find your tribe all over, in the southern part of the country, the north. And there are many sisters here who have their children, single moms, married moms, who have their children with them, who are living their best lives in Mexico. And if you're here if you want to get married, you're going to find a husband. If you want to date seriously, you go find a boyfriend, or whatever you like, you're going to find it here. Because I can honestly say, Mexican people have been very kind to me and very welcoming. And from an economic standpoint, the cost of living, you can live a really good life here. My daughter is studying aeronautics. We have the opportunity to ride horses. These are things that I wouldn't have been able to afford in the States.
Right. Okay, this was absolutely great. I'm so glad that we have this conversation. This was wonderful. I learned a lot about you because we have been friends online, but we haven't really connected or talked. So this was super, super exciting. I am going to put everything in the description box so you'll know how to reach Roxanne if you have any further questions, if you want to get into any of her programs, relocation, the education piece. This is the person for you. And so I just want to thank you so much, Roxana, for coming
Thank
on.
you. Thank you for having me and for the opportunity.
This was lovely. Okay, we're going to end and peace out.